Almost there. All right, you're live. I'll share my screen as you get going.
All right, cool beans. Thank you, Ryan.
Almost
All
there.
right. Good evening, everybody, and good to see everybody. I know it's been a while since we last met. Hope everybody's been doing well. I can't wait to hear some of the things that have happened there since we last met. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order at 6:33. Mr. Heidel, if you would proceed with the roll call.
Sure thing. All right, Dara, I know you're here. Debbie? I'm here. Justin Goldman, I think he said he'd be late. Mike Hyatt?
Present.
Olaf?
Here.
Alice?
Here.
Marino?
Here.
Russell?
Here.
Tom?
Here.
Justin Lauer?
Justin will not be here tonight.
Okay. Hugo?
I believe Hugo will also not be here tonight.
Got it. Monsef?
Might be 3 for 3 in Region B.
Slackers.
Region B appointed members here.
No, Mike Schroeder.
Sorry.
There you go. Dave?
Here.
Mike? Calloway?
Here.
Ed?
Here.
Lewis?
Here.
Melissa?
Here.
And Sean.
Oh, we
Here.
worked on yesterday.
All right. Thank you.
Eric Monsef indicated that he will join in progress.
Okay. Thank you.
Excellent. Eric, thank you. I will take a motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll make a motion, we adopt this agenda.
Do we have
Written.
a second?
I'll second.
I don't know who seconded.
Sean.
Thanks, Sean. Any discussion on the agenda? Okay, hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any
Aye.
opposed? All right, the agenda has been adopted. Do we have any guests on, Mr. Heidel? Do you see?
I know we've got Ryan and Becky.
Mike Stroka.
Okay.
Mike Scirocco.
Looks like Hugo just joined us.
Yeah, Eric, Hugo, and Debbie just joined.
All right, let me mark them both off and I'll get Stroka added to the list as well. All right, and I think that covers us. So just Ryan, Mike, and Becky.
Perfect. Thank you. Minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting?
So move.
Marino moves. Do we have a
Second.
Who seconded that? Hyatt?
Tom
No,
second.
Tom.
Mr. Tianich, thank you. Region A's awake and alive here. Is there any discussion with regards to the minutes of the previous meeting?
I
Hearing
do have a
none.
question.
Olaf, you're recognized for a question.
I couldn't find the minutes on the website or a link of the recording. And I think it's important that maybe it is there, maybe it was there, I don't know, but I think it is important that we do have a track record of what is being discussed, not just as an overall with overall headlines, but with detail reports that are given, that they're accessible to the membership.
Mr. Heidel, anything for a rebuttal on that, or should I move on?
No, I'm pretty sure they're posted. I know they redid some of the website and like the categories that things are under. So I'm not sure if, maybe it's changed where it is, but we've been posting them. I mean, all the content from the October meeting was posted before the meeting even occurred. So
Thank you, Olaf.
If
Thank you,
it's
Eric.
if it's helpful, I'll add the recordings, the YouTube recordings going forward. We can do that. That's easy enough.
Thank you, Ryan. Any other discussion regarding the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, motion passes. Ryan and or Eric, any correspondence?
think Tom may have something before we jump.
Oh, I'm sorry. Guys, forgive me. My screen is, Mr. Tanich, you're recognized.
I didn't mean to interrupt that whole minutes thing, but I know within our club we have bought an AI dictaphone that basically transcribes everything automatically, and then you can just say, "Give me, overview of what was said." And Eric, I don't want to tell you how to do it, obviously, but I think maybe what Olaf is referring to is the fact that when he gave his report verbally, and nobody's expecting anybody, you, Eric, or any secretary in the future to take notes of everything somebody's saying, but maybe we can spend money on a, $100 dictaphone that automatically transcribes and generates something out of it. So maybe that would fix the problem. Olaf, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we have discussions about certain items or reports, etc. And at the end, it's the meetings just display the result, right? So but there's no detail about it. Which again, Eric, I don't expect you to type this all up while we are chatting there and stuff like that. But if we can either do the recordings or what Tom just suggested, I think it's definitely valuable.
Thank you, guys. Report. I'm sorry, Ryan. Was there any other correspondence? I know you deferred to Tom. No. Eric, any correspondence? Okay.
No.
Reports, administrative officers. In lieu of the heavy agenda here tonight, I'm going to hold off with anything I have. Any additional officers? I'll open the floor.
I go.
Sure. Olaf, you're recognized by all means.
Mine is not going to be as long as the October one, maybe a minute shorter, but no, I'm just going to be quick. I just wanted to take a minute because we're at the 12th hour, if you will, for our cup registrations. And there has been some changes as we kind of gotten into the 25-26 season to the cup competitions. They're open to all kinds of affiliates, right? It doesn't just have to be FYSA affiliates. And it's unfortunately, I don't think that we succeeded entirely to get that message out there. So if you have any clubs, teams that might in your regions are still looking for a progressive competition, such as Commissioner's Cup, President's Cup, State Cup, just point out that this is an open competition now, and every team can participate in it. And we're actually looking to expand upon that and revamp the cup competitions for the next season with some fresh ideas that we'll bring to you, just like with the league, our league efforts as well there, where we meet weekly still with the leagues and have made great progress of aligning things and maybe even possibly moving a lot closer together at the local level than we've ever been before.
Excellent. Any Eric, Treasurer? I know Justin's not on. Any other reports from the officers?
No, I know Justin submitted some financials that were in the packet, but
I saw those. Okay.
I'll include those as addendum for the group.
Excellent. Last call for officers. Okay. Mr. Foley, Executive Director report.
All right. Good evening. So I'm not going to go through it line by line. Let me just kind of get there. I'll highlight just at a high level what I think is important to share, just operations wise. We'll talk about the pathway strategy later, but that was the big outcome of the member meetings from US Soccer in November that happened shortly after our last board meeting in October. Obviously, the focus for those meetings very heavy on World Cup programming, marketing efforts from the Federation. There's a very lengthy slide deck that I'd be happy to share with anybody that's interested, rather than take up more time here. Soccer Forward is I'll call it charity organization for US Soccer, and they're taking a larger footprint to work with state associations and member organizations of the Federation. One of the examples of that is the Soccer Forward Play Day that we held in Tampa. I shared some information from the men's national team activation that we had. So, they're really, I think, going to be a grassroots effort moving forward, and they've produced some really strong work. So that's largely where the discussions revolved around. From a partnership perspective, you obviously see an executive session 2 that have come forward. There's one other that's not ripe enough yet for the board to consider. But the broker that we discussed during our last meeting has been having a lot of success at this point in the year as companies are looking to commit spending for 2020 calendar year 2026. Just want to welcome and note that we have a new competitions coordinator, Connor Davis, in our office. I believe he's had some interaction with some folks. So welcome him to the team, and we continue our interviews for Director of Sport Development and Director of Ops. We'll talk about the club meeting. There's a one pager on that later in the report. Just for awareness, we're going through, Francesca and I, and Justin's aware, just going through the budget for this current year. And we're going to basically do something called a reforecast and say, hey, we've had a good deal of programmatic changes. We've had a good deal of operational, cost differences that stray from the budget, and that's not a bad thing. The example I keep using is President's Cup and NCS had a whole format change at the regional and national level, right? Well, the entry fee cost is different. The referee expense is different, right? So like we're talking about probably close to $200,000 worth of expenses that have changed across multiple categories that I think it's good practice. The board sees that, understands it, and maybe even endorses it through a vote at our next meeting. So I will bring that forward when it's ready. Coaching ed, continuing to excel there. A couple B courses approved for next year. We have our new educators that have been recommended to U.S. Soccer. So we anxiously await the decision there, and if approved, they'll go through their practical training. Finance and admin transition to Insperity for our payroll, HR, and benefits is complete. We're moving our 401k plan as well, and that's expected to be complete by January. Just so the board's aware, that has ultimately saw us see a 2% savings on our payroll overhead. So things like benefits and HR costs, workers' comp, even some like other employee benefits like tuition reimbursement. This change has really been, I'd say, a lifesaver just for us and having somebody to lean on, and also has recognized a good deal of cost. So thanks for the personnel committee for their support there. The audit was pushed 1 week. It will start next week, complete in January. That's for last year. It is a full audit year, and we'll likely put a recommendation to have an RFP for a new auditor next year. Just good practice, nothing that they've done wrong, but good practice to have the books looked at by a different organization in the future. Comps continues to roll. It's a little quiet at the moment, which is, they're certainly not complaining. They're taking the time to focus on the 26-27 year, and they're working with the competitions committee on potential format and vetting through some ideas with Olaf and team. As Olaf mentioned, registration's wrapping up for Spring Cups. We've extended registration by the end of this week. It technically ended last week. We expect it to be flat compared to last year. State Cup, which is the NCS level, might be down slightly. I know there's been some pretty intentional outreach from Giancarlo and the team to try to drive those numbers up to make them flat. Olaf already mentioned the Cup competitions being offered to all Florida-based U.S. Soccer affiliates. The RVPs, thank you for introducing that idea and supporting it, and the comps committee for taking that a step further to Pres Cup and NCS. I shared information about the $10,000 grant for girls in soccer. This came $5,000 from Soccer Forward, which is essentially U.S. Soccer, $5,000 from New York Life Insurance. Again, really great event, and they're looking to have an impact on the Tampa Bay area, which is why it's not expanding. But I'm confident that with U.S. Soccer as a partner, we can continue to grow that program and make that investment meaningful. Foundation grant it's technically open at the moment because we delayed the board meeting. We'll ask for that formal endorsement and opening of the application period a little later this evening, and we're still waiting on the ITG grants. On the marketing side, focusing on the efficiency of partnership deliverables. Becky's spending a good amount of time here as we scale partnerships to make sure that we're delivering on the things that we are contractually agreeing to. So just spending some time on the operations. Website redesign. The first phase is generally complete, and we're looking to continue that consolidation from, call it 100 pages down to maybe about 20 or 30. It just makes it a lot more efficient for staff to manage content and make sure it's relevant and not inaccurate. The ODP program, we have about 42 players that are attending interregionals next month. And we have 60 players, approximately 60 players, parents, and coaches that attended the England trip. Some really good photos out of that, and it sounds like it was a good experience with the new partner that we have. Player registration side, 77,000 players to date. We are finally realizing the forecasted decline in player registrations. Last meeting, I spoke and said, hey, we were actually up from where we thought we would be at that point in the year. All this means is that players registered sooner than they had, or clubs registered players sooner than they had in the year prior. So we saw that increase sooner. Generally, we're still on target to be down, about 5,000 players overall by the end of the seasonal year. Jackie's explained that, time and time again about why and the different competitive changes. So it is forecasted for in the budget, just a change from what we saw in the October meeting. Communications are ongoing about the seasonal year age calculation webinar. Jackie put out a communication. There'll be a webinar on the 21st. There will obviously be much more thorough communication as we understand the questions that are coming in from clubs, the best way that we can support. But from everything we can tell, organizations from MLS Next Academy, not necessarily homegrown, but Academy and ECNL all the way down are going to be following this. So it's making the landscape a little bit more simpler from that perspective. Risk management side, just want to say thank you to the RVPs. We've had quite a few hearings over the past few months. So just want to say thank you to everybody who served on a panel and spent a good amount of time on not so fun and time consuming topics. I'll pause before I go into the financial reports. I know Justin sent a packet. See if there's any questions just on the staff areas and executive director report.
I can't find the little hand thing. I don't know how to do that. That's how I'm just raising the big hand.
I'll play Dara for a second and say, Marino, you're recognized.
Okay. 22 clubs that have not submitted players today. Does that mean that not even affiliated? Because if they're playing, we're in the hook for the insurance and all that stuff. Sooner or later, somebody's going to get hurt somewhere.
Sure.
And they're not even going to be registered. I mean, how does that work? And the same thing I used to say when I was on the USF, the USYSA board, states not submitting, the registration. And that I couldn't understand that, but,
I think a little different than that. Obviously, in order to be placed on a roster in the current season, the player has to be registered, right? So from an insurance perspective, this should be covered. I'll confirm with Jackie if she had a regional breakdown and even a club list. I'm happy to circulate that with the RVPs just so you see what ultimately what clubs those are, and it could just quite literally be entire clubs that are just no longer affiliated with FYSA or recreational programs that they're working day in and day out to try to get submissions from.
Right. Can I just chime in too, Marina? A lot of them, they're U.S. club, and then they'll come in at the last months and put in numbers of players to keep the affiliation up with FYSA. So therefore, that is those 22 may drop, but the number that they put in may not be high enough to bring it up by 20,000. So they're probably playing with U.S. club at this present moment.
I was going to say at a minimum, these players have to be registered before they're stepping on the field. I think all the competitions use GOT Sports, so that hopefully enforces that as well.
Cool. Ryan, just a quick question to the first part that you had for the U.S. soccer meeting.
Yep.
World Cup wise, was there any conversation in regards to what the state associations might be doing for the World Cup and how can we do something? I know that they released a school program that they're really Halfpenny Laura is heavily involved in that, and so I don't know if there might be some interesting resources that we can pass on to the clubs, possibly.
Yep. So I think it's twofold. Soccer Forward is call it taking the initiative to do what I'd say is like small-sided grassroots recreational style play, right? 4v4 clinics and festivals around underserved areas. They can even be for membership, and I think they're going to lead that charge. I've been speaking with them pretty much weekly about how we can activate in and around the World Cup. The message that I took away from the member meetings was what are we doing, call it 90 days before the World Cup starts? And what are we doing 90 days post the World Cup final, right? The marketing research shows that those are our key opportunities to call it drive new business and drive interest in the sport. And I do think it's incumbent on state associations to take initiative. We're talking with other states, so it's not this, random approach, right? Like you don't want Georgia to do something here and Florida to do something different, right? If you do it together and it's unified, you can amplify the message. And we also don't need to recreate the wheel. I do think the states and the member organizations have to come up with their own programming, and that's what I've challenged. Ironically, we asked in a staff meeting maybe 2 weeks ago, like, what are we doing in the 90 days pre and post? And we're coming back to those exercises to say, here are programming initiatives we think are valuable, coaching ed, small-sided clinics, et cetera, et cetera.
Good.
Cool. I think Tom was next.
I don't know why we are all asking the same question, but I guess we are. This 22 clubs, is this number accurate and updated, or an old number from the October report? Because when we got originally the October numbers, and something in there said 44% are from Region A, as you can imagine, my OCD did not allow me to keep quiet. So I asked for a list of clubs, and quickly to find out some of them are no longer clubs, so they haven't reaffiliated, or we kicked them out. And some of them, it's not true. They did declare teams. So do we know how accurate this 22 number actually is, or how up to date?
I could definitely look into it. As far as I know, it's accurate. There were percentages for each region below it. I ended up just kind of taking that out because this becomes a public document, and there was a lot more detail than I think was necessary for the public. But I can follow up.
Yeah, because Russell and I split up and conquered north and south of Region A. And we found out that out of at that time, I called it 14 clubs that belonged, because we were told that 44% were Region A, which was really large. So I took it personally. So we divided and looked it up, and it's really like we reached out to those clubs, and before we even got the answer back, I mean, some of them are no longer clubs, some of them just play spring season recreational, so they're about to register. Anyway, the number was just not accurate, so we're just wondering if this number is a different number or the same 22 from back then. And you can just hit me offline, tomorrow, whatever. There's no rush, just to see.
You got it. I'll share just the exact list of clubs with all the I'll call them the regional crews, the RVPs and commissioners. That way you guys have visibility into what's going on.
Thanks.
Ed?
Yeah, I'll reiterate what Tom's saying and what Marino's saying. I'm more than happy to help and reach out to the clubs. There could be definitely mistakes within the clubs as they could have members registered or not registered. So it is a risk management issue, and more than happy to get on board with that and make sure that their T's are crossed and their I's are dotted for sure.
Cool. I appreciate that. All right. If there's nothing else, just on the program reports and staff, I included just as an exhibit the P&L from Francesca. I haven't had a chance to look at the documents that Justin sent over. Generally, what we would expect this time of year, nothing surprising. So obviously just wanted to make this visible and transparent to the board to see, as well as the membership through our website. Any questions on the P&L? Okay. Mark,
$83 for Christmas gifts. That's not going to be a big party there. Come on, Ryan, you got to check that up a little bit.
Next Wednesday, we're playing a little mini golf, so we can expect that dollar amount to go up.
There you go.
Cool. So Exhibit B, we got our media marketing summary. Credit to Becky. She's putting these together on call it 2 month period. We'll probably get to monthly once we can kind of find our groove and our flow here. You can see just with the increase in registrations and new registrants, we saw a better open rate for October, just sheerly by increasing the number of people that are receiving the distributions, and then just kind of level out right around the 19% mark for an open rate. Generally low. Some states we've seen as high as like 25-30%. Great conversation with Olaf this afternoon just about marketing and how we're reaching different recipients and individuals and members. And we're really just going to take a step back and look at the softwares we've been using. Chris has been using MailChimp, and that database may ultimately just have what I'd say dead email addresses, need some cleaning up, right? So we're a little bit more accurate and true. So that'll call it be a 2026 initiative, is we just want to make sure that we increase our open rates, and when we send content, it resonates with the people that are receiving it. Facebook had a high performing month, just between cups, stories, the Soccer Forward, U.S. men's national team, and New York Life connections drove some volume. We did officially cross the threshold of 10,000 followers on our Instagram page. So credit to Becky. I know that's been a target that she was working to hit. So this is really cool. I know she's already set a new target of trying to hit, call it 12,000. So we're working there, and glad to see that we're goal oriented. Highest traffic web pages, again, just to kind of share where users are going and looking to us for. Questions on the media summary?
I appreciate all the work that went into getting all that data. So Becky, Ryan, thank you guys.
Thank you.
The general goal is just to be more data oriented and be transparent about what's going on, so long as it's not showing proprietary information. So hopefully we can see more of that stuff and make it more consistent in the board reports. Club meeting feedback. So this was the club meeting that we held in early November. From the emails I've received after, it was really, really well received. It was a great chance, if I speak personally, to just share a little bit about my vision and share my experience so far within FYSA, but also get really candid feedback from clubs about what they saw. General format here, they were given a pre-meeting survey. We then use that to essentially start the day off and have a conversation about how they felt, and that gave us an idea of what the room was like. We then just went into a few workshop style activities where they gave us strengths and limitations. They told us where we excel, what's holding us back, and while I don't want to speak, and others that were there can attest, I think it was really about them talking and us trying to facilitate, or myself trying to facilitate, rather than come in with any specific agenda. And I really appreciated the chance to learn and hear that perspective, being new to FYSA. We finished the day with a future state activity, just saying, okay, you've now told us where we, what we do well and what's holding us back. What would you do? What are the design principles and actionable items for FYSA moving forward? I'll share the slide deck separately. Just there's a heavy agenda by itself tonight, so I didn't want to get bogged down in it. But after receiving that feedback, these were kind of the 4 key themes that just continued coming up. If I mentioned that competitions was probably 90% of the conversation throughout the day, that might even be an overstatement. The takeaway is that they want a very clear and simple to understand competitive structure. We hear them loud and clear, and Olaf and the comps committee and us, we're all trying to talk about what that means, how we can revamp that, and also weigh that against the pathway strategy now, which we'll talk about in a little bit, right? How do all these things intertwine and inform our strategy moving forward? There was a desire to increase membership support through staffing and services. There were individual staff members called out by name that they really, really commended and said these are the offerings and support that they'd like to see more. A sentiment that our social marketing and brand recognition requires improvement, and we look at the reforecast for the budget. This is where we're going to try to pull out the marketing expenses, understand what we're spending, and say, hey, how can we improve? Where can we have additional spend to make our brand relevant and recognizable to new and potential members? And then board of directors, there was a desire just to define the role of the board of directors, non-operational responsibilities and positions, just in a direct representation of clubs. I don't want to overstate or understate anything, so our next steps are just evaluate how we can kind of take this effort and get feedback from others, right? We met with 30 clubs, maybe a little less than 30 clubs. And what resonated with me is we need to do more of these style meetings across the state with clubs of various sizes, various missions and visions, right? To understand what they believe FYSA should be doing to support them in the future. The idea was even thrown around about when we look at the AGM, how do we, incorporate this style feedback meeting into our agenda rather than us presenting to them? We have the opportunity to collect that feedback, right? So I don't want to pretend to have it all buttoned up and ready to vote today, and there's more to discuss, but these were at least the takeaways, and I felt it was valuable to share that with this group. Others that were in attendance, Olaf, Debbie, Tom, Lewis, anything that you guys care to share or correct the record on?
No, I would just like to re-emphasize what your last point there was, I think, the most that resonated the most with me. And it was an interesting group because the 30 clubs were not all clubs that are currently heavily participating in our offerings all across the board. But it really showed that if we look for dialogue and if we look for communication, we will get it with them. And I think we had this topic a couple times already before, but I think we need to be out in the regions a lot more, and we need to consider maybe at least one town hall meeting per season, per in the fall, and one in the spring or so in each region, where some of us plus some of the staff can attend and really be out there and connect with the clubs and not just listen. I think they also one thing that came up as well was it's not just they didn't just want to unload. They actually want to be led as well. They want to hear, okay, where are you going with this? What is this going to look like? And again, I come back to the very earlier point is a lot of the things that we are actually doing, they didn't even know about. They didn't know about the pathway. We're the only entity in the state for sure, and I would argue maybe even outside the state that is currently merit-based team versus team competition, meaning it's decided on the field what's happening where you play. And a lot of these clubs didn't even know. So just to re-emphasize that a little bit.
Thanks, Olaf.
I'll chime in real quick. Ryan's not underselling that event at all. It was fantastic. I thought it was led well. I thought the presentations were good. I thought the feedback from the clubs was very well constructive, and I think there's a lot of good work that we can do from that one day. So good stuff.
Thanks.
I agree with Louis. I almost want to screenshot the way Ryan wrote these results, because that's exactly what I was good with saying. I'll be honest, I have heard from some over the phone different results that are not these results, but these results are 100% accurate, right? So these 4 results, maybe different order for me. For me, I think one thing a gentleman said in front of me, he said something to the effect, ECNL markets directly to the kids, to the players, and that's why they want to play ECNL, because they are told that's what, that's where you should go. And we don't do that, right? So maybe in my case, marketing would go above everything else, but really all of this is very connected. And I hope, Ryan, you crop and paste these results, 4 bullets, and paste it in every office in the FISA building.
Yep, I agree. Cool. I don't want to take more time on it if we don't need to, so I'll keep going. I think that's it for my report, if I'm not mistaken. Let me hit pause. Go back to the top. That's all I got.
All right.
Before new business.
Thank you so very much.
Justin Goldman just got here. Dara.
Good evening, Justin.
Good evening, guys.
How are you?
Good.
Justin, we'll backtrack to you for any comments, treasurer report, anything you might have there before I move on? Or well, financial reports in the mix here, so.
Yep. So, just the latest update for the audit, trying to be pushed off to the new year with Francesca. And then just working on different ways to try to streamline the expense to make it easy on her. So we had a little bit of a conversation about what the bank can provide as far as linking up with Expensify, or if we need to try to do a different app. So just something that we're trying to work through to see if we can make it a little bit easier for everybody.
Cool.
And that's pretty much it right now.
Merci, Justin. Standing committees. I believe is Becky Jen DiTilio on the call? I believe she wanted to give her report.
I don't see her, but I do see Dave. So unless they're together, I don't know.
Dave, can you hear us? Dave?
Okay. I think she submitted her report in writing, right?
She did submit it.
Yeah,
that's fine. If everybody's had a look at it, she did say that she'd like to present it. That's fine. All right.
I'll include it as addendum as well.
Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate it. Unfinished business. We have none. New business. All right. FYSA Foundation grant. Mr. Foley, back to you.
Yep. I'll try to avoid some motion sickness here. Use the thumbnails. All right, foundation grant. So hopefully this should be simple. I hope the way I'm framing these things make it easy to either motion to do something or not motion to do something. So if at any point you guys say, don't present it this way, let me know. But this should be simple. I think there's an annual ask that the board of directors officially opens if I understand it correctly, officially opens the category for scholarships. We're technically taking applications, so there's ample time, but this is more of a formality. Is there a motion?
I make a motion that we reinstate the foundation grant.
Do we have, was that Marino that seconded, I think?
Yes.
Thank you, Marino. Do we have any discussion on what's on display here on your screen?
Hi, this is Tom.
Mr. Tiana.
I met with Francesca today because when this email went out, it said, here's the link to apply. And if you want to ask questions, schedule a meeting with me. So I scheduled a meeting with her, and it was clear that she cannot do stuff without us doing it first. So on the actual Godsport form, there is a field where you fill out for the grant that says total amount requested. And that is kind of inaccurate. And I remember in the last year's AGM when Joel was presenting the results of the grant, it said something to the effect, Hollywood FC requested $60,000. Well, obviously we didn't request $60,000 because there's only 50 to give out. So I suggest we change that field to total amount granted, which is the amount of financial aid that we as a club have granted out to our members. Because we are not there, I don't have a number requesting. I mean, maybe Justin can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the answer basically goes, we got $50,000. We had 100 kids apply, and they all qualify under whatever thing. So everybody's getting $500 a player, or whatever the number. Oh, sorry, $50 a player, whatever the number is, right? So I think that field needs to be changed to total amount of aid granted to your members, and then the next line on a Godsport form says total number of players, which is really not accurate. It should be total number of players assisted with this financial aid. That's the only thing I really have after meeting with her today in order to get more accurate numbers when we actually present grants later.
Okay. For me, I think it's operational. I'm happy to take it offline. I don't know that it needs a motion. To me, I'm more than amenable to update a Godsport form.
Yes, I agree.
Mr. Kinsey, you're recognized.
Let's see. Okay, you can hear me.
I can hear everybody. Can hear you.
Yes. Thanks. Hey, I'm concerned about the timeline of the submitted by the 31st. So, given the clubs have monthly meetings and they may meet sometime in January after the holidays, so they're basically going to have 2 to 3 weeks before the deadline to come up and to submit something. This is a crunch. I don't know how long it takes to, go through these things and to award them, go through it and evaluate these by March 31st. But that could be an issue. I just feel that January 31st is a crunch for clubs to get together, evaluate their needs, and submit this.
Two things. First, I think it's been open for a few weeks. I definitely hear your point about, hey, it's tight. I'm happy to take it back to Francesca and see just operationally, are the deadlines, stiff? Do they need to be the 31st? How long is it going to take to review? I don't have the answers to that today, so I don't want to commit to anything changing. But again, I can take that offline operationally. The second piece that I've kind of talked to Francesca about is we may just want to consider opening this a lot sooner. Take it, after the AGM in August. I don't know why we can't just have this. The budget's approved, right? This is just a formality. Can we just have this motion on the table, open it up, and then the staff can at their, I don't want to say leisure because that sounds slow, but at their leisure, just take the initiative to open the application period in September. Ed, go for it.
Yeah,
Tom
I
Tianich,
agree.
you're recognized. Oh, sorry. Ed, you had a follow-up? I'm sorry.
I agree. It's just if we can, like I said, if we can manage to make it more accommodating for the clubs, I think they'd appreciate it.
Thank you, Ed. Mr. Tianich, you're recognized.
I agree with Ed for two reasons. It's Ryan, opening it earlier certainly helps, but there are clubs who just spring-only clubs who only operate in spring, and so for them it doesn't leave much time to do it. I'm just looking at my application. We were still working on a spreadsheet last year in March. Now, I'm not saying we should leave it open through March, but January 31st is very, very early compared to how we did it in the past. So maybe even if we just do it through end of February, maybe adding the extra month will allow people who actually have spring-only soccer to be able to, submit their application without really being in a crunch.
Okay, you got it.
So
Perfect.
I don't have any.
Do you need a motion or?
Sorry. I'm okay with that one. I don't know. Again, I don't know how stiff it is. I'm happy to follow up individually. If you guys want to force my hand through a motion, you're more than welcome.
I believe Justin was making a comment. Justin, you're recognized.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, that's not an issue as long as when we say the end of February, that's a firm date, because we've got clubs that would submit stuff and then it wasn't fully submitted with documentation. We'd go back and have to ask them for documentation, and that would prolong the process. So it's going to have to be we'll open that window up to, end of February. That's fine. But at the end of February, then it's locked down. If you didn't put in the documentation, then we're not going to be able to float it any longer.
Thank you, Justin. Any other discussion?
Yeah, just really.
Marino, you're recognized.
Yeah, just a question. Don't we have a motion on the floor or something with this already?
We do. We're in discussion.
We do. Can I just really quick? I just wanted to Ryan's point there. This is something that we do every year. I don't know why we're sitting here in December and doing this. If it could be done in August, or if it is an open thing and we just kind of confirm it. I get Tom's point that there might be clubs out there that want to apply for something that only play in the spring, but we can maybe hold over some of the funds. We don't have to allocate all of the funds in the fall or just for fall teams if we want to, but this should be open, I think, when the season starts in September at the latest.
I'm happy to take that conversation back and just understand the ins and outs.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ryan. Any other discussion? All
Yeah,
right.
by the way, last year deadline was March 21st at 5 p.m.
Thank you, Tom. Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Well, go ahead. Everybody voted. So I wanted to know what the motion was, because I believe it was to present it just as written. And
think
we
it was
changing
just
days or what? That's what I couldn't. That's what I was asking about the motion.
It was just generically to open up the collection of applications.
Oh, okay,
Justin,
my bad.
when
I
Justin
thought
made
it
the
was
motion, he
just
didn't
like
specify
that.
a date.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
can I motion to just change the date? Must be submitted, not to say Saturday, January 31st, but to say whatever the date, last day of February is.
If it's on I think this is just text I pulled from the website. It's easy enough to update. If you want a motion, go for it. But I'm fine to make that change regardless.
Mr. Tanich, do you have a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to change it to last day of February. Just that one date.
Second.
Okay. Okay, Marino seconded. Any other discussion on the date change? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you, Ryan. What else?
I think you're back to the original motion now. I think that was an amendment.
Oh, my, Brian, tell you what, man, you keep me right.
Sorry.
Okay, back to the original motion. We had a motion on the floor. We had a second. Is there any other discussion on that? Okay, hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you.
Second
All right.
one, Hall of Fame rule proposal. It was sent out in advance. I can talk through it. Generally, I think just in conversations, it was about the vacated position at least 3 years. Just as we talked, just thought that some of these other ones kind of clean it up, give the Hall of Fame committee, that's a standing committee in the bylaws, the ability to have a little bit more latitude. So, for example, if there was somebody with 14 years that was deserving and worthy and under the same circumstances, it didn't have to come before the board again when that eventual nomination wanted it to be decided. So this hopefully just cleans it up a little bit more and gives them some liberty at the same time.
Motion to approve the changes here if you needed one.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Do we have a second?
This is not a bylaw. This is a rule. It's rule 5000.1.
Right.
Yep.
I
We have
second.
a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I second.
Olaf seconds. Do we have any discussion? Mr. Tanich, you're recognized.
I am not crazy about getting rid of the 3 years after the position was vacated. I don't think any of us have sexual predators on the board or people who have committed crimes that they're not accused or found guilty of yet. But I think most of the Hall of Fames in the world, just in case, give themselves just a little bit of time so you don't call somebody Hall of Famer and then later find out, they burned the house down. I don't know what's the rush to have to give somebody Hall of Fame membership so quickly after they have left the position. That's just my 2 cents.
Thank you, Tom. Marino, you're recognized.
Ryan, have you talked to any of the fellow member, like Lou or whatever, the committee about this change yet, or this is just the first time you putting it out?
I did send it maybe 2 weeks ago. I didn't hear anything back before the Thanksgiving holiday.
Thank you, Ryan.
Not surprising.
Lewis, you're recognized.
I would kind of agree with what Tom said. I think when people leave positions, whatever, there can be kind of an emotion attached to it and too much excitement or whatever about something that might be premature. I think a little bit of wait period is no big deal.
Thank you, Lewis. Mr. Heidel, you're recognized.
So when we rewrote our rules, do we still have the authority to change them midway through? And what is the basis for that, right? Because the prior rule said it had to be an emergency.
Oh, I would have to look it up. I'm sorry, I don't remember.
I think we can change it, and then it had to be ratified by the membership at the AGM.
Yeah, but Eric might be right that this was maybe changed.
What's the standard to do that, right? If it's an emergency, I wouldn't say the Hall of Fame is an emergency.
Any other discussion? Well, Mr. Rules Guy Tom is looking it up.
I'm looking it up.
Thank you, Tom. Mr. Hyatt.
Honestly, I think this came from when Becky passed away, because I think it was kind of an overwhelming thing that she should be in the Hall of Fame. I see both sides of the 3-year deal, and I kind of agree with that. I'm happy to see the 15-year thing go, But I also agree with Alice in that any change we'd have to do, I don't think it could take effect until after it was ratified at the AGM. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I believe it
I motion we table this indefinitely until we actually look it up, because I don't think we should be I mean, I'll be honest with you, we changed so much in August that it's kind of hard to absorb what was and what wasn't. And I agree with Eric that until we are sure that we can actually do this, if we kick this particular bucket down the road to next meeting, I promise that Eric and I will look it up and be sure that whether this is something that we can actually do, because there's really no emergency in this. Like, we're not going to nominate anybody over Christmas break.
We have a motion to postpone.
Second.
Indefinitely. That's proper motion, not to
Maurice
we have to-
copied this.
We have to
Postpone.
vote. We have to vote on the previous motion because there was a second
Well-
already, and we were in discussion.
Was there a second?
Oh.
I know Marino made the motion.
I seconded.
Okay.
Oh, well,
That's why I remember. That's the only the only reason why I remember.
All right, so on the original motion, all in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed?
Yeah, nay.
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 All right, motion fails. Mr. Tanich, you're recognized for a motion.
So I motion that we kick this bucket down the road to next meeting after we get a chance to look up the rules and whether we actually allowed to amend rules as board unless it's an emergency, which this
Second.
clearly is not.
Mr.
Second.
Heidel, did you get that postponement in detail?
Got it.
And Marino
That's what he needs
seconded.
the AI for.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any
Let me
opposed?
also clarify something. I love the fact that we separated bylaws from rules. However, that just means we have to look at two different documents now when we want to look for something. So that slows it down. Otherwise, I would already have an answer for you.
No better man than you.
Who,
Bitch, bitch,
I know
bitch,
Tom
bitch.
made that motion. Who seconded that? I'm
Marino.
sorry. Marino, thank you.
Marine.
Mr.
Region A is awake.
Mr. Ryan?
Yep. Last exhibit for new business. Annual general meeting dates. This was a topic that came out of that new that November club meeting. I know it's also just been circulated by board members. When I did a staff engagement survey, the AGM somehow came up as a key topic. The context here, relevant bylaw text, is that the president, with concurrence of the board of directors, shall call for the AGM to be held no later than August 31st each year. However you translate that there's concurrence of the board, it doesn't seem that anything would need to be changed other than just calling it. Put the proposal here. The reason it comes up so soon is just for us to have operational conversations if we need to talk to JW about moving a date, start planning for our staff and contractors, right? We don't want to wait until next August if we don't have to make this decision. We want to at least put it on the radar now, start a discussion, and understand where this lives if we need to change something in the operations. So it's there for anybody to motion or not motion if you care to do so.
What was the question regarding the date? Was there concern about when it was taking place?
Yeah, so the limited timeline, I think this is the key one. The limited timeline in which clubs and leagues have to implement rule changes. So if you make a rule change in
So they want it sooner.
August, they
Well,
want
our
it
AGM
earlier.
Yeah, sooner.
Earlier.
Yeah.
Our AGM takes place literally after the season has started.
So they want it in July then when the season starts? Or technically?
I don't know. I mean, I think there is actually.
Well, no,
there
this
was
says
conversation.
February/March.
Yeah, with the winter. I
Yeah.
also want to be careful of discussion without a motion. I just wanted to frame
Yeah.
it so somebody could.
Okay. Yeah.
Motion to
knowledge.
motion to accept the move of the annual meeting
Okay,
as
so
presented.
we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mike Hyatt seconds.
Hey.
Okay, I'm going to open the floor for discussion. I saw Eric Heidel, and then I saw Mike Calloway, and then I saw Tom Tanich. So, Mr. Heidel, you're recognized.
Sorry, Dara, before we go, I don't want to pretend that this entire thing gets solved tonight. This was just meant to be the last full item to start a discussion and understanding. We probably won't reach a conclusion tonight. So before we try to solve world peace, I just want to put that out there. Sorry. Go ahead.
It's also for 2027, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Mr. Heidel, you're recognized. Thank you, Ryan.
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, I support moving it earlier. I just wonder is February, March, or really any time where we have like cup competitions going on and really the season, because okay, we want to move it off of August because the season started, right? Or it's a bad time for people, but we're like March, I would think is a bad time, right? You probably have games and things going on every weekend. So I just think we need to be careful about where we move it to so that we don't create even more conflicts.
Thank you. Mike Calloway, recognized.
Hi, just is there a rationale why it was originally set in August?
You'd probably be going back very, very long
So I
time.
May I? It was actually it used to be the last week or next to last week in July. They was moved to August, the first week in August, because moving it right after nationals, with the UFU having their national and the board meeting and the rule whatever the last weekend in July. So, but it was never a great thing to move it to August because it was always after, like Derek said, Olaf said, it's always after the competition. That's why we got to postpone everything for a whole year, everything we vote on.
Thank you, Marino. Tom Tanich, you're recognized.
I have two things, right? So first of all, I know that we heard the change of time, but I also thought we heard of change of venue, that we don't necessarily have to have it in Central Florida every time. So I guess that's the first thing, and maybe we could talk about it separately. And then the other part is, and maybe Ryan can answer this, because this could be one of those emergencies, because if we want to do it for 2027, we might have to decide it by, I don't know, January, whenever you have to sign a contract for the hotel. So maybe if somebody can just tell us what's the deadline if we want to make this change, and if we were allowed to make this change as far as for the next, how many years ahead our hotel is already booked?
Yep.
And if we were to wanted to move it to different date, as well as maybe different location, because South Florida is welcoming you. You guys don't have to be almost have to come to you.
Isn't that in the bylaws?
Yeah, I was just about to say two things. So on the location, that would require a bylaw change. So
Right.
Saying that, I am sure that we're going to expect a proposal at the upcoming AGM. The other one is I'm also happy to talk to JW and just see, who knows, maybe by moving it to February, March, it's going to be $500,000 instead of $250,000, right? Right. So
Yeah.
I think just understanding the implications. First, we wanted to see that there was appetite to do this, and then we can hammer down exact dates and what have you for an operational perspective. So from what I'm hearing, it sounds like there's consensus so far that August may not be it, but maybe February, March also isn't it, and we need to find the middle ground.
But when will we need to? By when do we need to make a decision in order not to be locked into, let's say, another 5-year contract or something?
So the JW contracts. So we have a contract signed in 27 and 28 with JW. We owe JW a deposit that they continue to knock on the door for. So before we pay that deposit, I would have that. You're asking for a hard deadline, end of January, early February, reasonably.
Thank you, Ryan.
Okay.
Mike Hyatt, you're recognized.
Yeah, the biggest thing that I've heard from clubs as far as the date change is like any rules changes that are made, the season starts pretty much like the next week. So to get the word out on rule changes, it's really, really hard. It's pretty much the middle of the season before they actually can get them out and understand it and all like that. Financially, they've already made their budgets and everything. So you're talking about changes financially that they might have to make for the following year after that. So it's just in having the AGM sooner, like March, April, something like that. That gives them time to do their budgets, make their changes, get the word out on rule changes and whatnot.
Thank you.
More
Thank you, Mike.
timely there.
Thank you, Mike. Olaf, you're recognized.
Yeah, I want to reiterate. I mean, not. I want to just support that as well. The August date would be great if it would be the 26th for the 27-28 season, because then we would be the first entity that actually has their board meeting in August for the following season. But with where it is right now, August is not a great time. To along with Eric there for February or March, and I might have to look at it what the best dates might be, but I think the earlier the better, honestly, in the year, because everything that we kind of like decide. If you look, for example, the other entities, right? I know that we're always saying we don't need to, but we kind of like do. So, they have the application processes out by the end of the year. So it's between November and December when if you want to apply for any of the other entities, that's when you kind of like have to get your stuff in there. The AGMs for these entities are early, because anything that is decided takes not just effect for the next season, but it is factored into the trial season that it has become. So we need to consider that. In addition to it, and I don't want to make this bigger than or longer than what we have to, but I think we have to also take a hard look of how we run the AGM. Is the way that it is currently run, is that really a successful model? And how in my opinion, my personal opinion, the last AGM was almost a tragedy. I mean, it was poorly attended, and in addition, we drove away the ones that are attended. We definitely drove them away in that Sunday session. So is there a way to, I don't know, to even think outside the box? Do we have an AGM that evolves around the get together and the coming together and all that kind of stuff, and the official part, the rules part, the bylaws part, the election part, and stuff like that is separated from it? I don't know.
Thank you, Olaf. Any other, Mr. Hyatt? I see your hand.
Yeah, I'm just as far as oh God dang it, I lost my train of thought. It's along the lines with Olaf. Okay, I'll lower my hand, and
You have Mike Calloway with his hand up.
Oh, okay. I apologize. Mike Calloway, for a comment.
I put it up by accident. I'm sorry.
No problem. Marino, you're recognized.
If we're looking at the beginning of the year, I would say usually January might be better than February, because most leagues or whatever that start the late season or whatever the fall season, they usually start at the later part of January. So I know.
Yeah, but you have United Soccer Coaches Conference, so you have some. I mean, there's always. I mean, listen, there's never going to be a perfect date, so it's just like picking the lesser of the two evils.
If you guys
don't have the coaches conference anymore, are they?
They do have one this year. But if this helps, maybe put a pin in it. And I see Justin's got his hand up. I'm happy to take this feedback back. At our next meeting, we'll consider this old business, and then we can debate specific dates on a calendar when we understand cost and time and the actual soccer calendar with it, right?
Would you be able to talk to the JW before the next meeting?
I would. Yeah, I'd probably just quote out generally what pricing would be in any given year, availability, all that stuff, any given month. Excuse me.
Justin, you're recognized.
Yeah, guys. I mean, a great conversation. My only concern is that we are in a travel to state. So moving it during the cold time of the year from other states is going to raise the prices extremely high for us to get hotel space, hotel rooms. So I don't know if that February, March, April timeline is really going to be sensible. Ed was saying in the chat, like, think about when the snowbirds leave Florida. That's when all the rates start to go back to normal. So we'd have to definitely take a look at that financially. My only other concern is that the information that we move out in August is collective through other organizations that we report up to too. So if we have our AGM early, we may not be able to disseminate some of the information out that's necessary in person. So we'd have to find other streams to do that as well. So just maybe some hybrid options as well might be beneficial.
Thank you, Justin. Mike Hyatt.
Yeah, I'm over my brain fart. I remember what I was going to say, and it kind of goes along with what Justin was talking about on the finances. I mean, look, I love the AGM. The pomp and circumstances is fantastic, but I think we can look at ways to kind of scale it back to save some money on it, because I think that the date that we have it to where it more helps and works with our clubs, I think is more important than a lot of the glitz and glamour that we pay for, which makes it special, but I still think we can probably cut back some, like time-wise, that we spend there and all that kind of stuff.
Thank you, Mike. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. We do have a motion on the floor. All in favor signify by saying aye.
What's the motion?
It was
Accept
to
the way that it was written. So we got to go no so that he can
Eric.
take it back. We got to go no in order for Ryan to go back with the information that he just got and then come back at the next meeting with.
Yeah, my motion, I think, was to accept it as written on the screen.
Correct.
Correct.
Which would move it to February, March. So we got to go no.
So all in favor signify by saying aye. Okay, all opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay, motion fails.
So that I realize I skipped out on the pathway strategy. I'll take 2 minutes just because I know Mike asked about it. My apologies for going out of order. So U.S. Soccer's pathway strategy, I included the link in here. They shared an announcement. The long and short of it is they are working with member organizations and governing bodies to create different groupings based on player outcomes and or players' desired outcomes and the relevant league standards. So as it's proposed and exists today, there are 5 different groups: pre-pro men's, pre-pro women's, competitive, recreation, and adult. Adult will ultimately combine into those other groups, but they really wanted the adult perspective by itself for the moment. It still is fluid, so these groups can change. The labels can change at any time. Some MOUs have been signed for the pre-pro groups. As the presentation shares, pre-pro is really referring to competitions and league organizations, that's at least who's working through it, not necessarily governing bodies. So ECNL, USL, Girls Academy, MLS Next, looking from the youth perspective at those organizations, where US Club, USYS, all of the other national governing bodies come into players in the competitive and recreational space. There's really not too much for us to do at the moment. They're going to release additional information at the convention in January. We are still engaging in regular conversations with US Soccer and their strategy department of, call it 20 plus people, just to understand what the impact is. As soon as there is an impact to the state association and how we do business and what the opportunities are, obviously it will be shared here. I'll do it in the form of some type of proposal. And I know Olaf had we had a good conversation just about how it can impact our competitions. I think the key, call it decision for us, and there's nothing to decide today, will be any changes that we see in our competition structure, whether we try to advance that for 26 or 27, or we wait to see what shakes out from US Soccer's perspective and the landscape and how in fall 27 pre-pro is first launched and introduced, and we kind of put all of our chips in that basket. US Soccer's ecosystem review came away with those goals, right? Increased participation, reduce costs. These are all things that I think we all believe in and know the game needs. They're just trying to approach it through systemizing pathways, changing governance, depending on what player outcomes are desired. So you're not governing everybody the same way when the business models are just so different across every end of the spectrum. So generally, that's the pathway strategy. I'm happy to take any questions. Olaf, any context that you want to add as well?
Yeah, just to add to what Ryan just said. So I think what everybody needs to understand is that U.S. soccer has been and still is in a situation where it is very, very difficult for them to mandate something. And that's where a lot of the lack of leadership kind of like stems from. If we want to go back to the small-sided game, to the heading, to all of these things, there were never mandates. There were recommendations that were made by U.S. soccer in a manner that it was perceived as a mandate, and that's why they were applied by everybody. But I think we've passed that stage now, and everybody is aware that U.S. soccer is not. That's why we are kind of like when they got the can of crap with the age group changes, when U.S. soccer looked at it and then kind of like kicked it down the road again and said, okay, here's our solution with this. You guys are all going to decide what you want to do. And unfortunately, that's a little bit the vacuum that they've created for themselves there. And this effort now, the pathway effort that they're going is great, because I believe they finally have gotten the message from the membership, not just from the top level, from the mid, from all over the place, that it is a heavily saturated and diluted market out there, and it is really difficult. It's overpriced because we're pushing right now 6 to 7 national competitions that are working or are competing alongside each other, not competing really, but competing for money, but not on the field. And I believe that U.S. soccer is actually interested now to influence that, but it will require, and that's why we have to be careful with our expectations, because it will require actually of entities that are right now definitely not looking eye to eye to come together and to agree on things. So that's just my add-on there.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Olaf.
Yep.
All right.
Last item of new business, board of directors structure. I'm happy to start and take it. I know Mike Calloway obviously introduced the topic through email. Just want to share from my experience, having gone through this conversation, not witnessing any of the conversations this board has had in the past, is maybe just talk about how we have constructive conversations about it first before debating anything. I started by putting proposals out on things that were buttoned up. I don't know that we have any proposal that's buttoned up to debate and talk about and put forward. So again, as we go forward, I think a conversation about how is best fit, but I don't get a vote, I can't say anything. So,
Mr. Heidel, I believe you have a question.
Yeah, I mean, I have a proposal, right? I mean, it's not fully buttoned up, right? But just something to bat around, right? So if the desire is really to shrink the number of people on the board, right? There's been a lot of feedback from the membership that they want regional representation. So I would propose we go down to 9 people. It's going to be 8 regional representatives and 1 president. So what you'll do is you'll run it sort of like an HOA board, where you just elect members, like those 8 people, 2 from each region. You would only actually vote for the president to be the president, unlike we do now. And then of those 8 people, you would give each of them a secondary duty. So then the board will vote among itself and decide based on those 8 people and their skill sets, okay, you from area A, you're going to be the treasurer. You from area C, you're going to be the secretary, right? And all of those required positions. Maybe you don't end up having every position we do today that's statewide, but basically to reduce it, we'll eliminate all the statewide positions except the president, who acts as the chair, and would just be that 9th vote to break a tie. It would mean less regional representatives because it wouldn't be 3, but you would have an equal amount from each region. And that would be like more than 90% of the board, which right now they actually have less than a majority. There are more statewide officers than there are regional. Well, sorry, I take that back. But it still actually increases their majority, right? The majority gets even greater. So it would keep regional representation. It would shrink the size. I think overall it'd be a good thing. You'd get rid of regional VPs, so it wouldn't be like concentrated, right? It would just be 2 people from A, 2 people from B, 2 people from C, and 2 people from D. and nobody would really be in charge, right? You would kind of
Eric.
dole out responsibility.
Eric, just quick question to that. The regional representatives, they would be elected by the regions. Is that what you suggested? Was that part of it? I missed it.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Each region would put their 2 people up, and then the only statewide vote would be for president.
Okay. Got it.
Thank you. Mike Hyatt, I saw you, then I'm coming to you, Lewis.
Yeah, Justin Lauer and I talked about that a couple days ago, and about the same thing that Eric is putting forward. And my biggest problem with that, because I had sent out again, Darla, you and I had talked about this before, and I know I'd sent it to Ryan and you here about a month ago, I believe, on how I'd like to see it go, because our biggest problem is, I mean, look at what Ryan set up, the round table for some of the clubs. I mean, the clubs are wanting somebody to talk to and have representation. And I think that going that route, when you're cutting back to 2 people, plus those 2 people might have a different role in FYSA than actually going out to clubs, to their meetings, to get in contact with them. I just think there should be more of a regional structure, with the regions being able to run their regions to FYSA standard, to where they can reach out to more clubs, and make our clubs feel like they're being listened to and helped. Because I know in the past that's what I've ran into running clubs and at the league level. Mike Troca can probably expand on that too. So that was my 2 cents.
Thank you, Mike. Lewis, you're recognized.
Yeah, I kind of want to back up what Mike said a little bit right there. Was at that meeting that Ryan was hosting, Tom was sitting at a table with a couple people, and they made a really good point. Like, they weren't against reducing the size of the board just because of the numbers, but they did want to make sure that, obviously, Region A is much bigger than everybody else. It's certainly Region D, right? And they just wanted to make sure they had representation to the massive amounts of clubs. And they were okay even at that table if that meant we hired a couple different people to cover representing people from across the state, right, in the FYSA office, in lieu of the commissioners and stuff. Because it was really just about representing the amount of membership you have and getting out there. And like Mike just said, having 2 in each region, while it does balance it, that really didn't seem to be the biggest concern, at least in my eyes, as they were talking that day about the good and the bad. So just my 2 cents there.
Thank you, Lewis. Tom Tanich, you're recognized.
I'm so glad Lewis went before me, because I think he knew what I was going to say, right? So there's 239 clubs in the state and 121 are in Region A. And so I think Eric's thing is very well baked. I think it's more baked than he is willing to admit. It's actually probably a very good idea. But yes, in that meeting, we did talk about more representation, not on U.S. Senate level style, where every state gets 2 senators, even though if you have nobody living there, it's just cows, but more on the way the U.S. House is represented, right? So whether that's number of clubs or number of players you register or whatever it is, if we can come up with a way where 121 clubs are not represented by 2 representatives who also now have an additional role of being a treasurer or secretary, which I still think, Eric, it's a very good idea and certainly a good way forward. Can we maybe find a way to make it representative by number of clubs / number of players within a particular region? And then, yes, increasing the number of staff so that they can help offset some of those things. I always felt that we don't necessarily, and this is not to do with anybody on this board, but sometimes we put people in positions where those are not their strengths. They were just able to get more proxy votes from somebody, that thought it was going to be their vote on a board, right? So, yeah, maybe, Eric, there's a lot to this. And if we can somehow make it local representation, I know Alice really wants to get rid of her position, but Alice, I'm going to fight you for it anyway. But if there was no state registrar, because we decided that it's no longer needed, as long as each region is properly represented, I think there's a lot to this idea. Thanks.
Thank you, Tom. Marino, you're recognized.
As I mentioned before to you and to whoever, I said, I'm not against it or in favor of reducing the board, as long as you present something that is going to work for everybody. Eric, you're the first one that kind of brought something up that kind of looks like it might work. The only difference I see it is instead of 9, I would support 11 with 3 statewide. We've got to have a precedent. I will separate the treasurer also from being one of the region, because I don't know, Justin and you know, working with Francesca and all that takes a lot to do the budget and all that. And another position, it might be a combination between like Debbie has right now and what Olaf has, or something to that effect. Okay, or combining multiple. But I would like to see 3 statewide, and then the regional stays the regional, not combined with something else as a statewide position. That will give the regional people more, just run your region and present that region at the state level.
Thank you, Marino. Mr. Heidel?
Yeah, I mean, everything you guys said, I think, are good suggestions, right? I'm not like married to any particular version of it. I think I've just seen us for the last few years, like over 5 years, we constantly go in and we try to reduce like the regional commissioners or some version of that, right? And I think the message is just clear that we cannot be reducing that in favor of keeping more statewide people, right? So I do realize.
Did we lose Eric?
I think we lost him.
Yeah, I think he froze somehow.
All right. I'll go to Mike Hyatt until Eric comes back.
I second what Eric just said.
I'd like to put my hand up, but I physically can't do it as the host, so I'll wait until the others are done.
Well, I think that number one, just to clarify,
what I knew,
there can't be another president, because he'd either have to stay the way it is as a region VP, or you'd have to go to a regional committee with a committee chairperson as the leader of said region of committee people. But yeah, I think getting regional people, lessening the number of regional people is not the way to go. I think having a more clear-cut role that we want the regional representation to do, and whether they report back to the RVP or whatever we want to call them, so they can report back at a meeting. I think it kind of helps both sides, but it'd have to either be an RVP or a regional committee chairperson type of deal.
Thank you, Mike. Eric, you broke off with some comments there. I'm going to come back to you, and then I'm going to go to Mike Calloway.
I mean, I was trailing off, right? I think you guys get the gist of it. I think we just have to have a regional super majority in whatever we're going to do, and not focus on keeping all the statewide officers. I think that will really help. I mean, granted, I think that's a perception thing, because like, I don't live in Alaska. I might be the secretary, but I do live in a region, you know, but anyhow, I still think it would be very helpful to make sure the regions have a super majority and do more of the elimination on the statewide side.
Thank you, Eric. Mike Calloway, you're recognized.
I think we all agree that something needs to change, and I may be thinking about this wrong, and please say so. With the last bylaw change that we tried, I never could get my mind around the why. Why are we doing it? Is it going to help us be goal driven? What are we trying to achieve by reducing the board? What is the need to do that? And to me, if I could come up with that thought of what the need was, then I could try to wrap around an organization that meets that need. I don't know that we're so goal driven that we're trying to accomplish things. And what does that vehicle need to look like to achieve that goal? That's the way I would go at it.
Thank you, Mike.
If I may.
Ryan, you're recognized.
I'll try to put a pin in it here. The last kind of two things that I would throw out for consideration as the conversation amongst the group progresses. Just think about operational role titles. So even though in Eric's example, right, if there's eight roles, and now we're voting to say, hey, this person's going to have this role or that role. Just think about, what that modern board structure should look like, and reliance on the office that has a very healthy staff salary line item. With no disrespect to call it Mike Hyatt, right? Like if I look at Mike's position, it says to update the website. Well, we have Becky who is hired to update the website, right? So I think that there's some just natural evolution and growth in the descriptions and the roles that the board has to move from what was traditionally operational and needed to be many, many years ago to strategic and oversight. And as you think about what those 8 spots should be, and what they're liaisons to, just kind of keep that in your mind. The other one is how that ultimately relates to the committee structures when you reduce, right? And I just really strongly advise to maybe think about moving to an advisory board structure. You probably have 2 or 3 standing committees: risk, finance, right? Discipline. But think about kind of comprehensively how to move away from being involved in the operations day to day and needing to take action because we have a staff to do that. How can we as a board become more strategic and less operational? So that's where I want to put a pin in it.
Thank you.
Staff perspective.
Cheers, Ryan. Thank you. What else we got? I think we're going into executive session. Is that correct?
That is what's next. Yep.
All right. You want to drop off any guests at the bus station? And thank you for joining us. Thank you for being with us.
And I'll pull up executive session content here.